All right, here's example 4. If you'll notice, it's a little bit different. We're just going to approach it the exact same way. Go through your steps. Vertical asymptotes always first. So for your vertical asymptotes, it's whatever makes the bottom 0, which the only thing that'll do that is -2. It is true that it's squared. That just means we would actually put a vertical asymptote on top of another vertical asymptote at -2, which is kind of silly. So there's no sense in talking about that. You just go to -2. Vertical asymptote, don't forget to label your asymptotes. Next step would be the zeros of the function. What's going to make a 0 in the top of that? Since there's nothing added or subtracted to that x, it's just going to be 0. My x-intercept is at 0, 0. Keep in mind, that's all that's going to make the top or bottom 0. So your critical things for your sign chart is just going to be divided into 3 sections. You've got -2 and you got 0 as your critical numbers. So you're going to try something less than -2, between -2 and 0, and bigger than 0. Those are the 3 sections you're going to have to try. We'll come back and do that after we do this other stuff. Horizontal or oblique asymptotes is the next thing we ask about. Look at the exponents. If I fold this out, that would be x squared underneath the x. That means the bigger exponent's on the bottom. So our horizontal asymptote's at 0. That means I have a dotted line right there, and that's at y equals 0. And then that is a horizontal asymptote. Don't forget to write that. That you specify if it's horizontal or oblique. I think the next problem, I'll look ahead real fast, but I'm pretty sure the next problem is the one that's got the oblique asymptote. It is. And we'll look, see how to do that in just a moment. The next thing we look for, the y-intercepts, which the y-intercept, hey, quick note, if 0, 0 is the x-intercept, that's also the y-intercept. But if you don't remember that, you always just plug in 0 on top, or for all the x's. That puts a 0 on top and +2 squared on the bottom is 4. 0 over 4 is 0. You plugged in a 0, got out a 0. So yeah, that is the y-intercept as well. Now for your sign chart, you're going to pick numbers in each area. Is this going to alternate? Because x plus 2, you understand this is the same thing as having -3x, x plus 2, and another x plus 2. Since there's more than one x plus 2, then it's not going to alternate just around that -2. So whatever it is on this side of -2, it's going to continue to be on that side of -2. It'll still alternate everywhere else. So if you pick a number bigger than 0, like 1, and plug that in, if you do k of 1, that'd be -3 times 1 over 1 plus 2 squared. The bottom is going to be 3 squared is 9. That's a positive. Underneath, -3 times 1, that's a negative divided by a positive. That's a negative. So alternating can be positive, but it's not going to alternate over that one that's repeated, so it's going to stay positive as well. Now, this is going to be weird for you. I ignore this example, but I'm going to explain something to you that might come up in your homework or on the review sheet or something like that. If this were an odd number, like if it was repeated 3 times, then it would still cross at there, it still alternate. Okay, it would still alternate, it would still go plus minus. It's only if it's an even number of repetitions. If it was an odd number of repetitions and it's going to cross at -2, let's just say that was a 0, then it would actually go up, flatten out, and then continue crossing, going across like that. I know that's weird, but the key is that's an even exponent. If it's an even number of repetitions, it does not alternate on the sign chart. If it's an odd number, it does alternate. Talk about the exponents. Okay? Well, now that we got the sign chart, we can just draw the picture. We know from 0 and bigger, it's below the axis. It also has to go through this point and then hug this asymptote. It's going to come back up there towards that axis and just hug that asymptote like that. That's weird. Between 0 and 2, it's above the axis. Going through this point, but hugging that asymptote. And on this side of -2, it's got to hug this asymptote and that asymptote. It's going to look like this. And there's the picture. Now, one other thing. Let's just do a what if. What if instead of just giving you a function and saying draw it, they gave you this rational expression and asked where is this less than 0? Well, if they're giving you this as a problem and ask you to take care of the inequality, all they're asking you for is look at the graph and where is it below 0, below the axis. And that'd be from 0 to infinity. And I'm using parentheses because it doesn't have the or equals to. If they change that to greater than or equal to 0, they had the negative 3x over x plus 2 squared. That's asking above the axis or equal to 0. Now remember, negative 2 is an asymptote, so it cannot be in the answer. So that one would be negative infinity to negative 2, union negative 2 to 0, and the 0 would be included because the or equals to. Negative 2 is eliminated, not because of that sign, but because it is an asymptote there. So that would be the answer to that one, where it's above the axis.